Health Minister Dr. Mbali Gcabashe says they are in the process of locating all the people who had contact with the country's 3 confirmed cases of the deadly coronavirus. A couple from Hilton in KwaZulu-Natal has tested positive, as well as a woman in Gauteng. They were all part of a group of 10 that travelled to Italy and arrived back in South Africa on the 1st of March at OR Tambo International Airport. Mkhize says a couple's children have tested negative but will remain in self-quarantine.
It's very difficult to know when somebody gets exposed to the virus and when it starts infecting them.
Right.
So the parents, we can say, they came back on the 1st. So they would have then been infected before the 1st. Whether it was 2 days or 14 days
Correct.
or 10 days, it's very difficult to say. What we know about the virus is that anything between 2 and 14 days, it can actually it can lie dormant and then show symptoms anytime after 2 days or after 14 days. We have ascertained who the people are that would have gotten in contact with the first patient since he got from the plane from Dubai up to the time he went to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
We've got that whole list together.
Okay.
So those were in the plane. We have actually picked up the information from the aircraft. We are tracing them all, and those who were met outside the plane from airport to the house, and after he was in the house, we've got that whole list. So we're tracing all of them together.
Meanwhile, Chinese ambassador to South Africa Lin Songtian says while the situation in China is improving, Wuhan is still under strict supervision as more than 20 people are still being observed.
Now Wuhan, we still locked down in Wuhan because it's epicenter. We still have about 20,000 confirmed cases in Wuhan. But the hospital is big enough. Now some of the cabin hospital, newly built, we already closed the hospital. That means the infected people, the confirmed cases less and less. So now about Wuhan is the epicenter. Up to now, we still the people are not allowed to move freely.
For more, I'm joined now on Skype by Mbali Gcabashe, who is a South African national in Wuhan. She joins us via Skype. Mbali, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So, as we speak and you are in Wuhan, what is the situation?
Well, the situation, Thabiso, is not the same as it has been in the past couple of weeks. It is improving. We are starting to see life on the streets. Although we cannot move as freely as we are used to, but there's a bit of life right now. We're able to move inside our communities and just stroll and take walks within the communities, but we still cannot use, things like public transport. We cannot access a number of things that we are used to.
So would you say reports suggesting that the quarantine or the restriction of movement has been lifted as false?
It has been lifted a little bit. I mean, you would recall that in the very beginning, we could not even go even to the gate. But right now, we're able to, just make orders and have them delivered and go collect them at the main gates within our communities. So it's not as bad as it was. There is a bit of movement. There is a bit of ease as far as movement is concerned.
Okay, so there is strict supervision, just that the restrictions on certain places have been lifted.
There is definitely strict restriction. Even when you absolutely need to go outside your community, you will have to be tested. Your temperature has to be tested. And when you come back again, you will have to be tested.
So, Mbali, we know that there are several South Africans who are going to be repatriated back to the country. Are you among one of them, or are you amongst those who are opting to stay in Wuhan?
I am one of those that have opted to stay in Wuhan. And there's a number of reasons for that. You have to consider, I stay here with my children, so I saw no reason to be taking them on another, quarantine situation away from the comfort life that we are used to. Right now, yes, we are self-quarantined, but we are in our own home and we have the comforts that we need. So, and also, when you think of traveling right now, there's a lot of exposure that comes with traveling. So it is something that I really did not want to be exposing my family to.
And Mbali, just you can give us general ages, if you will. What has been the experience for your children? I mean, for children, I'd imagine it's a little bit more difficult to process in terms of what it means to be under quarantine, what it means to have the threat of a virus like COVID-19.
It has been a bit of a challenge. I mean, we've had to learn to entertain ourselves, particularly the children that are used to being outside, playing outside, and all of a sudden they cannot move. They have to find entertainment within the home, and they have to be with each other, on each other's faces 24/7. It is something that has been difficult, but fortunately for my children, they are used to being at home because they are home educated. So it really has been a blessing to have them understanding how to be at home, but these extended hours have been a bit of a challenge.
From a social perspective, has it created a greater communal camaraderie amongst those around you? How has been the effect of having to contend with the threat of the coronavirus?
One thing I have to say to South Africans is I have heard the news that you are getting bits and pieces of infected people in South Africa. One thing we can take from Chinese people is the unity that they have shown at the time of crisis. They have really stood up together as a community to fight this virus, and they have taken care of us as foreigners. I mean, for example, myself, at the very first instance when we were quarantined, my own landlord would bring us food to our home because she understood that we are foreigners and we cannot access some of the things that they can as Chinese people, and they stood in the gap and ensured. And also, South Africans that are in Wuhan under strict supervision, we have carried each other on WeChat groups, just checking on each other, even playing games on WeChat groups, just to keep ourselves sane and not to lose the spirit, and so that we just live through this thing. So if there is one thing that I would caution South Africans is the division where people start to look out for, number one, as people say, in this particular crisis, you have to look out for each other, and that is the only way you can survive this virus.
I mean, Mbali, that sounds great. Like it's fostered greater cultural integration. Has it then also better exposed you not only to the culture but the language, and made you want to learn more?
I absolutely would love to learn so much more about Chinese people. I have been learning more about them just in general terms, but this particular instance has taught me so much about the Chinese culture, the culture of working hard, the culture of the communal culture, the culture of patriotism. They are so dedicated to their country. They are dedicated to each other. They are dedicated to the success and the safety of each other as a community. And that is something that I think we can take from them. That is something that I think we can really, really learn and will work for us as South Africans moving forward.
And I want to end with what you implied earlier on, that you're really appealing to South Africans to not treat with hostility those who are coming back from Wuhan. I want you to at least tell us, what did you understand about the virus and how people are able to be treated and come out of it pretty much healthy?
One thing I have to say would be, from the government perspective, honesty and openness about what is really going on so that people are not unnecessarily exposed. And as far as citizens are concerned, the culture of stigmatizing, that is something nobody needs at the moment. And also understanding just the basics of cleanliness, the basics of taking care of yourself, even if you have minor flu, things like when you are coughing, have a tissue, cover yourself. Don't
And sadly, it looks like we've lost that connection to Skype to Mbali Gcabashe, who's a South African national living in Wuhan, and she was pretty much ending off with saying that what has really helped has been the openness, sharing of information around COVID-19 by Chinese government and officials, but also saying that people are practicing pretty much good sneezing and coughing etiquette, including your general hygiene. So an appeal from her to South Africans that those who are being repatriated back into the country should be treated humanely, saying that has been the experience that she and her family have experienced, that there's a great deal of coming together, working together to beat this. I think wonderful message to end off on.